Good evening, everybody. I hope you're doing well. It's an honor for me to be with the Rudy Comfort Wide again. And I thank the organizers for having accepted my talk. And really, it's rather strange for having accepted a talk because my talks are usually not even noticed. I was in Ruby, Brazil, and we were at a drink, and one friend that had given a keynote, I said, I loved your talk. And he said, I loved yours. And the problem is that I hadn't given any talks. That's a small detail. So now let me tell you what I'm passionate about and how I could make a living out of that. My name is Santiago Pastorino. I am founder of YWorks. It's a developers company. We do web applications, especially using Ruby and Rails, and especially Ruby and Rails. And I'm part of courting of Rails, and I've been there for 3 years. And why should I tell you this and how I did it to live out of, to make a living of what I'm passionate about? It's because I think that some of you may feel identified or feel motivated. It's just a personal experience. Being humble, it's not a recipe. This is what works for me, may not work for you, but it may work for others. It's just intended to be my experience, and if you see that it's of any use for you, you can. It's a wonderful. Football is a passion. I assume that for most people. We're close to the World Cup, and for 3 days I haven't slept because it's just 20 days before the World Cup starts. And we have Luis Suarez, who's going through a wonderful time. Now he had to undergo surgery on his knee, and we're all very worried because of his health. If I break my 2 arms, my 2 legs, nobody will ask anything. But all of us are worried. My father asks at the hospital every day how he's doing. I don't know whether the foreigners understand this, but in Uruguay we breathe football. We are sick about it. We talk about football all the time. We play football, soccer, and so we live thinking of soccer. And I am passionate about soccer. When Uruguay wins, I'm happy. My wife tells me if Uruguay wins and if she says, let's go out for dinner, yes, let's go into a wonderful restaurant. But if Uruguay loses, then I don't even want to. I want to go to bed early and just eat something, some rice at home. But in this case, I'm going to tell you about my passion. For me, it's a strong emotion that you feel about something. So it's a strong feeling about something, and personally, for me, football is a passion. It's a hobby that I have. Professionally, I'm passionate about working in projects and to apply high quality in the projects I work with. I apply quality in codes, in architecture of the applications. I love to have a good suite of tests. I love to improve the codes. If it's already good, to improve it a little further. I especially like Ruby. That is a language that was developed to make the programmers happy. We are really productive working with Ruby, and we're all happy when we work with it. I also like to apply quality in the aesthetics of our applications or products, and that the applications be safe and robust and stable. I'm also passionate about working in projects with a high impact, important, interesting. The work that we did in YWorks, we were fortunate to work with clients that for which our work had impact in the users, and also because of the work in Ruby on Rails. It's a framework web that has revolutionized. It's used by many people, so its impact is undeniable. I'm also passionate about the challenges. It's like the engine that drives me, facing challenges all the time. For me and for Jose, my my colleague, my partner with whom we started Y-Works. It was a challenge to build our own company and trying to contribute with open source, with Rails in particular, because when I started I didn't know much. And I also like to learn. I'm always trying to learn to use better the tools that I use every day. And I'm always trying to learn. So I'm especially passionate about quality, about high impact projects, challenges, and to be learning new things all the time. And for me, success is to live what I'm passionate about. I consider that that is success. Confucius said, choose a work that you love and you'll never have to work. And I agree. We were taught that success is directly related with money. As a matter of fact, I was surprised to see that the Royal Spanish Academy defines success as the good results in business. Well, I don't think that you get the money and certainly that will give me happiness, but then you look for more money. And I think it's better to move based on what you are passionate about, and then money should be just an instrument that you can use. And for me, especially, success is being free to choose what I want to do with my time. And I'm not thinking of money when money is important, but that's not what makes me move. So we started a company not with a purely economic purpose, but because we wanted to do what we liked to do. That was the key thing. So let me tell you through 7 attitudes or factors how we did with Jose to get our company started and what I did to contribute. So once again, this is a very personal experience, so this is not meant to be any recipe for you. You have to run risks, because if not, you are probably not going to win. Steve Jobs said this: if today were the last day in my life, would I like to do what I am going to do today? Well, in my case, thinking of death makes me accept the risks, and I start thinking of the problems that I might have if I try to do something that I like and I fail. In the worst case scenario, I may learn, and failure in a project like this gets diluted. So it's a good instrument, in my view, to adopt decisions. So usually, sometimes we have 2 options to choose, and I tend to think, what would I do in a limit situation? Would I choose A or B? If I choose B in the limit, why wouldn't I choose it now? So that I tend to think a lot like this. And Y-Work was the way we found to be able to do what we liked. Maybe other people have another, but this was ours. So the most important thing was to run the risk to do what we cared about. The second thing is the partners that I found to do the things that I want to do. And with Jose, who's a wonderful karaoke singer, with Jose, we went to the university, to the School of Engineering. We studied together. We talked about working together in a company, a local company, and then we started with our own business. And somebody told us when we were about to start, they said, if you want to do well, you need money, contacts, and knowledge. And really, we didn't have anything. We didn't have a peso. We didn't have any contacts. And knowledge, well, we knew the technical things, but not how to handle a company. Although in Movit, I learned a lot of things because we were just a few when I worked there, but I didn't know much. So as we learned as we went. Now, the problem of money, we solved it. I started first and then with Jose, we divided the gains and the losses, and we with Jose had a salary, so somehow we reduced the impact of the problem. And you realize we trust each other a lot. That shows that there's evidence that we trust each other, because I was at home trying things, and we shared the expenditures. We really trusted each other. You realize that you can truly trust the other when you don't start wondering whether the other person is working and all that. So we always trusted each other a lot.
And with Jose, we really have the capacity of understanding one another. We often agree, and when we disagree, we can rapidly negotiate things and reach agreement where we really agree. So we really understand each other well. And regarding the knowledge that we didn't have, we started having workers and cooperators. And today we don't know anything, and all the rest do have the technical knowledge. And what we want is to do high-quality jobs. We hire people who are well-trained, good technical experts, but the important thing is to have a place where we love to go to work. And for us, it has been very important to have people we get on well with whom we share values. And we have to have a good relationship with them, because we share with them most of our time. So that was very, very important. And for us, that is part of the vision of the company. We want to be recognized as a company that has good values and great people. So our allies are the people who have embarked on the journey with us. So that has been essential. Then it is very, very important to invest effort and dedication. Without effort, you don't achieve anything. I think there are very few geniuses, but there is a common element in many people whom I've met who achieve things because they really make an effort and they dedicate time to them. And in the case of open source, people really invest lots and lots of work. Nobody was born knowing everything. Well, how do you contribute to open source? Well, I don't know anything about this. I want to do something. I don't know how to get started. So I sometimes wonder how much time that person invested in thinking about things. Nobody learned on the basis of osmosis. Sometimes you have to have very, very big codes or very complicated libraries that were written with complex and poor codes. Sometimes things that are codes that solve complex things, and you need lots and lots of books to understand what you are reading. So it is essential to dedicate time to the things. If you're motivated and you dedicate time to your work, there is no obstacle. So with that, we are ready to fight any battle. Now, in my case, I started with Rudy on Rails at an event organized in IRC through the internet, and they got together to discuss things on documentation. That was great because I was with a group of people who helped me. I did a couple of minor things. I was highly motivated by that. And that is great because I had a network of people whom I could contact. So I worked on that over the weekend. I continued the following week. And then I met someone who said, well, who wants to do this job? And I started working on that. I asked Jose for a little help. We're about 4 days working that. And 2 days later, I asked Jose, well, do you have any idea what we're doing? I really don't understand anything. I thought I understood even less 2 days later. So after working hard, we finished the task, which was a bug for to repair something. I thought that was not simple at all. But then we invested all that time, and part of the learning process involves braking. So Rails 236 came out, then the 237, then the 238. Well, you know what the cause was of all those releases. It was the code that we had added. Well, yes, that is part of the learning process. You have to break some things sometimes. But the good thing about this is that we started to use release candies to give more security to Rails. So I don't feel so bad after all. So the good thing, effort and dedication are important when you really working out what you like. In my case, I'm very perseverant, but I'm not very constant in my work. Not everything is just beautiful, and I went to the School of Engineering, and the workload at university was quite demanding, and I thought, well, I didn't go to classes, and so a very difficult task became impossible. And that was a major learning process. So as I started to face impossible problems and then solve these gradually, impossible things became possible. And I now have an attitude of saying, well, I'm sure I'm going to be able to solve things. You really have to have an attitude saying, well, there's nothing impossible. Sometimes you have to face very difficult problems, and if you start saying, well, I won't be able to do so, well, that is something I cannot accept. I have to say, well, I have to solve this somehow or other. I will find a way around it. Another important thing is to focus on what you do. This is very important at YWorks. We want to work with Ruby on Rails. We want to work with high quality, and this in projects that are very important and that have a high impact. It is essential not to betray your own selves. Once you have defined what you want to do, you have to be true to yourselves and not get distracted or sidetracked. So you have to be sure that the way you chose is a path to follow. And people who are just starting with their companies, well, when we're in that situation, you feel like tempted to subsist. So you get lots of proposals and offers who get you sidetracked. And that sometimes we invent that for ourselves because we're afraid of not being able to make it. So we started with the company to live from what we enjoyed doing. Before, I used to have a good job. I was well off. But that would have been like betraying myself. And it often happened to us that we received proposals that sort of got us sidetracked, and then we learned how to say no. So to do what we like to do, you have to learn to say no to things that you really don't like to do. All along the way, of course, you will have lots and lots of problems. You have to stand up again. You have to believe that you can reach your goals. We used to be a very small company. There were only 3 of us. We were almost bankrupt at the time. We had 3 projects. One was finished because the contract finished. The other one never paid, and the other one never paid us, and so we wouldn't be able to face it. So the same guy who cleaned the dishes, wrote the code, or went to the bank and was the errand boy. So it was very difficult to get ready for that situation. So we stopped believing in the idea. We sort of were quite down. I started to write open source and started contributing, but with any specific objectives. After the weekend, we went back to the office and said, well, we don't have such a bad idea. Let's discuss this. So we started offering our services again. And we were very lucky because we found something very rapidly. We received a technical form that we had to respond with Sebastián. We decided to work on that. Jose was on holiday, fortunately. So we got the complicated technical form, and I put the best thing I had, the best thing Sebastián could do, and the best of the internet. Jose would never have allowed us to do that. But anyway, that's what we did. And we said, well, we can also learn something along the way. And Jose didn't want to do this. So when Jose comes back from his holidays, he found that he nearly killed us. So somehow this project was awarded to us, and this was a turning point. We recovered, and that was very important. We struggled and we made it, although at one moment we were quite down. We started to fight again, and we really made it. The last point is luck. I'm sure luck does exist. Other things might think this is an additional factor or God, but I think luck is an issue. I'm going to tell you a tragic story. My family suffered, was robbed, someone was kidnapped in my family. I won't go into the details. It's something that doesn't happen in Uruguay, and we were one of the cases that suffered from that situation. And someone stole my computer. I hadn't any backup, so I lost all the information I had. And then I went back to work a couple of days later. I didn't have where to work. I had an old, small 7-inch computer, and they laughed at me after a couple of days, but I needed that computer. In Uruguay, computers were very expensive. It was even cheaper to go to the United States and back and buy the computer there. And then there was going to be a conference in San Francisco. I'd never been there, and I managed to bring all the money together. I went to that conference in San Francisco, and in the middle of one of the presentations, I decided to go and have a cup of coffee. And then I started to speak with the sponsors in one of the booths, and then that person ended up being the owner of the biggest company we have ever worked ever since we founded our company. So we exchanged lots of emails, and we started to work with them. So the story began with kidnapping and then went to a company that did very well. The company was then purchased by Google, and then we started working for Google, and we continue working for Google. So if you don't believe in luck, this was really a stroke of luck, and then we have had lots of luck all along the way. Now, the point is that luck is all around, but if you don't do anything about it, then it won't come knocking at your door. So luck should better find you working. So that has been essential for us. So to wrap up, after all the effort we made and the reward, it's important to celebrate the little achievements that we make along the way. I live from what I am passionate about. We love the company. We enjoy our work. We have a group of friends who do the same work as we do. We get on great together. And I'm always looking for new challenges, new things to motivate me. But it is important to stop and celebrate the small achievements you make, to celebrate together with your colleagues. So we can have a wonderful time working at what you really like. You have to be confident. You needn't be a genius. I think we all have an enormous potential. In this case, we ran the risk. We really had the courage. We dedicated time to this. We were perseverant. And also there was a share of luck. So I encourage you to live from what you're passionate about. Thank you, Bob.